the right club. Be the right club today.
Johnny, that's better than most.
How about in?
That is better than most. Better than most.
Expect anything different?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Live from the Kill House. Cody here. Sarge is taking control, of course, joined by my guy TC. TC, how are we doing today?
I'm great, Cody. I'm great. Been watching the tournament. Actually just got back from a little 7-year-old baseball game. Freddie's team won on a walk-off, so I'm absolutely buzzing from that, but excited to talk some more golf.
Miss Jordan Perez, good evening. How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm great. I am so excited to talk about today. Oh, I'm just fired up. I mean, guys, I know we love to delegitimize Chevron, but it has been a good day of golf.
It felt like a major.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that. And would like to welcome to the live show, famous from working with our friends over at the Fried Egg, Meg Atkins. Meg, thank you first for joining us, but how are we doing this evening?
What's up? I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me in here. Excited to chat some Chevron with you. Been a fun couple days, and I'll echo what you guys are saying. Pumped to finish out this weekend and see what goes down. It's been fun.
Absolutely. 36 holes so far of really, really good golf. We got Nelly towards the top of the leaderboard. LC still on that front page, but before we get there, I got to pay a bill. Our LPGA live shows this year and all of our LPGA content is, of course, presented by our friends at YETI. We want to thank them for being the title sponsor of all of our LPGA content this year. And nobody does it better, whether it's luggage, hard coolers, soft coolers, drinkware, clothing, you name it, TC. They got everything. YETI products perform when it matters most. Everybody, please head over to YETI.com for their complete product line and more. Again, thank you to YETI.
Thank you to YETI. On our tourist sauce trip, we had a release this week, and our 17 of our checked bags outside of our Titleist, club glove bags. I think we had 11 YETI checked bags plus backpacks plus duffels. It was a sweepstakes.
It's a lot. So this is an interesting show. All right, Big. We just received reports that Big has made it back from Mexico. Thankful that he is back on U.S. soil, but the big guy had a week off, much deserved vacation. You got me and Jordan back from, we're usually back producing this stuff. So we're kind of manning the ship, trying to do both things at the same time. But guys, we have a heck of a golf tournament to talk about. And I'm not talking about the one in the Dominican Republic. I'm talking about the one in Houston, Texas. TC, where are we going to go?
Yeah, I think we got to start with Nelly. I think that's where we started the week talking about Nelly. I have a feeling we may finish the week talking about Nelly. Got some contenders and some challengers kind of rising up the board. Ataya Titikum went from lingering to definitely loitering to kind of taking over the show late this afternoon. But I think that it feels a lot like Scotty Scheffler at the Players when he didn't have his A game and he's just sort of, kind of bunting it around and looks like, all right, when he starts making a couple putts or when he gets in a little bit of momentum going, he is just gonna rise to the occasion. Nelly, it's felt like she's had her B minus game and she's one shot back right now. Doesn't have to sleep on the 36-hole lead and, going for 5 in a row. It's wild.
Some pretty heady stuff. Jordan, what jumps off the page at you?
Kind of what TC said. I mean, she doesn't have to sleep on the 36-hole lead, so she should feel somewhat energized by that and knowing that, okay, Ataya Titikum is a zombie here. I got to watch my back. Jean Haim, same. Sorry if I totally mispronounced her name, but kind of getting lapped here a little bit. And I think that's only going to propel Nelly to saying, hey, I can't have my B game here. I really have to step this up. And because for the past month, it's like Nelly could bring whatever part of her game that was all inclusive of her own and just kind of wipe the floor with everybody. And now Nelly is just kind of put on notice. I mean, today she was fine. She was getting through, and she looked like she was hitting the ball well, missed a couple putts that could have really helped her out, in the long run, especially when that afternoon wave came in. But I really think she should be kind of put on notice just a little bit.
I think we've kind of been waiting for somebody to be there week in, week out with Nelly, challenging her as she's on this truly like historic run. And who knows what this run actually ends up being. I know the story of it either way is going to be the 5-event thing, whether Nelly accomplishes that or she doesn't. And it's so awesome. Ataya Titikul, she injured her thumb in the off season. This is her first event of the year. She's somebody that we last year were like, holy cow, man, like Ataya's playing really good. She just couldn't win. And I think the best thing about this leaderboard so far is that she's back. And it seems like maybe she might be the person that can run neck and neck with Nelly, Meg.
Yeah. And the injury, I mean, coming back 0 reps and doing this your first 2 rounds out the gate is insane. And she changed her grip because of this injury. Like not a minor thing at all. And her press conference before play started, she talked a lot about how great it was to be home, but how much she missed being out there and how much she, really, it was a long break. I think they told her to rest, like total rest for like 8 weeks. So that's a lengthy time to be away. So I'm guessing she was, chomping at the bit to get out there for many weeks before this came up. And I thought we would get like a tune-up either in like Phoenix or something before, and that didn't happen. So to come in here just fresh, but 0 reps and do this is crazy stuff. We'll see if she keeps it up, but gosh, she looks comfortable. You'd never guess that. She had a thumb injury, changed her grip, and hasn't played in 4 or 5 months. So it's wild stuff. But yeah, I mean, Nelly's won all these without Gino in the field, and maybe Gino's coming to get her this week. We'll see.
The storyline there, I think in our preview show, TC, we talked a lot about Angel and these kind of lofty expectations and how Angel's first event back coming off of injury was match play in Vegas. Phase. And it's the honeymoon phase. And that's what I'm like, I hope Gino, like, can we make it to Sunday with this? A new grip strapped together. She says that there's no pain in her thumb, even though it's still wrapped up. And I wouldn't say that she's like treating it gingerly. I think you're just overly aware of it just because the tape is there. Yeah.
It's, gosh, watching Lexi today, we were doing feature group coverage and Lexi was in one of our feature groups, and watching her with the thumb and I think the tendon
wrist,
there, thumb and wrist. And that's not the injury you want as a golfer, especially on Bermuda grass.
And especially her swing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I can't imagine, having something like that happen. She missed, LPGA Thailand as well, which is obviously a huge bummer for her. And then comes back and 69, 67 and, right there. I think Nelly too, just thinking about Nelly, she's won on all these different courses this year, like 4 radically different courses, 4 different tournaments. But I think starting with the double bogey today and then steadying herself and, making the turn in 1 under par for the day was pretty impressive to see her kind of just shake that start off, especially after a kind of topsy-turvy round yesterday. But I'm just looking at this leaderboard, Maja Stark kind of rising up the board, Andrea Lee, great to see Alimi No's name, Lottie Woad. I know you want to talk about her, Jordan, especially, but
for sure.
There's some talent moving to the top of the board. And I think for a big part of the day, it seemed like, all right, maybe the leads does stay at 6, maybe it gets to 7, and to see 2 people get to 8 is, it's kind of a message to Nelly, to Lauren, some of the others of like, hey, we're not going to stay in neutral here. Like, you're probably going to have to get to 12, 13, 14 under par to win this thing. So
I got a great little Maja Stark nugget for you from her little post round press conference. So she was talking about her mindset and everything, and how her coach said, you're not going to react to shots. So she says, so I'm not allowed to swear this week. No hitting the ground with the club, nothing like that. I feel like that just takes me out of what just happened, and I think about what I'm doing moving forward. I talked to Peter Hansen, former player. He works with Ludwig. He said, instead of saying just have patience to Ludwig, him and his mental coach worked on saying just keep playing, because then you can kind of put your head like on the next shot. And I think that's been way better for me, just both with staying calm with what I'm doing, but also being aggressive on the next shot. You'll love to see it. You'll
Love
love
that. You know, I think that's the best thing about the Swedish Golf Federation is how tight they all are. They share swing instructors. You're not going to find a lot of them that still are really close with the federation that haven't yet made the complete move to the States, that have gone to different coaches, different psychs, different physios even. And I think that's where, you know, they have power in that community there. And it's awesome for Maja to give Peter a shout out there. And really, I mean, if Ludwig's doing it and it's working for him, you can't really say that that's a bad route to go on. I had dinner on Tuesday night with Maja's caddy. Awesome dude. And he told me that he's like, we made a goal. He's like, we were chatting last week, texting back and forth on the off week. And the number one thing that we said that we were going to stick to, he's like, it doesn't matter the outcome of the shots this week. We're not going to cuss. We're just going to keep it moving. And if it's really bad, even if we rent something, we're just going to keep moving along. So I'm happy to hear her continuing that, because they're such a great team. But yeah, Maja up there shoots a 69 today, 5 under, currently T5. And I think that kind of brings us to LC. I didn't really know what to expect today. You know, she had such an awesome first day, opened up with the 66, a kind of shaky start out of the gates. I know that they were nervous. It's a long sleep for her, sleeping on a lead of a major championship. This is kind of territory that she's never been in before. TC, what do you think? I mean, overall, she kind of rode the ship out. 73 isn't that bad.
She did, yeah. You know, no birdies today. She did have the eagle on 8, 3 bogeys. I was hoping she'd get one on 18 there, but I think overall she's right there. T5, 3 back. Pairings aren't out yet for tomorrow, but I think, you know, this should loosen her up. I think it's all right. You got the experience of leading a major under your belt now. Move forward with that. I think yesterday I was talking to John, I was talking to Lauren, and my mom texted me and she was like, "Oh, I just texted Lauren, like she's leading." And I'm like, "Don't do that, Mom. Don't." And I'm like, "Lauren, like
we're so proud of you."
Yeah. So it's very you know, I think it's good to have that under her belt, but I think it's also good to feel a little bit less pressure, you know, heading into Saturday. She can just go play her game tomorrow, and she's good enough to win one of these. She's great tee to green. Putter needs to stay hot, and you know, I was talking to John earlier tonight, and he got his KB Hana hat. He was like, I officially made it, TC. I got the hat deal. And I said, no, when Lauren gives you the full-time job officially, yes, when and if, then we'll get you the YETI hat deal. And then you'll know you've really, really made it. So
they were a lot more active in the group chat than I expected them to be last night. That's for sure. But, you know, overall, an awesome eagle there. Couple, you know, 3 bogeys overall, but 73 on a day that was full of nerves. And I know that what she's thinking right now is that this is the worst golf that I'm going to play. It's very difficult to follow up such a great round right there. Behind her, you got Andrea Lee, played with her in the Pro-Am on Tuesday. She must have, you know, whatever Arian Foster was whispering to her when they were on the other side of the fairway, she must have picked up something from him. Maybe that's some of that speed or something, but they're right there. T10 at 4 under, joined with Yalimi No. Great to see her back. She had a heck of a round going on her front side. Couldn't quite bring it home. And then, JP, I want to set you up here. It's Lottie Wode's world. We're just living in it. I mean, what a phenomenal couple weeks of golf she's had going. But I know that you know, this is how she normally plays. College events, amateur events, everything. She's a staple on the women's amateur scene. And this is just kind of outside of Anwa, like everybody else's chance to kind of recognize her game.
Guys, my very first reaction to Lottie's round today was like, Lottie Wode, I wasn't familiar with your game, even though I totally was. Because it's okay. This stuck out to me in particular from Anmois, which I found really interesting. So at her winning press conference, she talks about I think someone asked her kind of about her timeline and turning professional now that she's got exemptions and different opportunities coming with that Anmois win. And she goes and she says, "I'm not too sure yet." And I think there was a little bit of scoffing because we're like, "Well, girl, like you just won Anmois and you're a sophomore in college and you're already talking like this." And clearly she knew what she was talking about. I mean, I kind of going into this week at Chevron, it's like, okay, this is a great course fit for Lottie. She's a long hitter. She's been hitting the ball extremely well between, when I watched her at Champions Retreat and when we watched her at Augusta National. And I mean, just today, I came out of yesterday and I was like, I feel like our Loam race might not be that captivating. I was like, I'm not feeling it. But oh my gosh, Lottie came out of the gates today. It was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, and was making some really, really solid putts too. I was so impressed, and especially just kind of with that level of tenacity. And this is her first major championship start too. I think that's something to really put into perspective. It's like the moment is almost never felt too big for her, it seems. And I think we can kind of trace that back to she's almost always had that in her. When I think back to when she won I think what was it, the British Girls right before she went to college. I think it was like a massive win. I remember she was playing Cayetana Fernandez Garcia Pollo, who was over at
longest name in the world.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Syllables you got there.
Okay.
Yeah, many. But it's just and this has been a fun stretch for Lottie, and seeing that like there is so much legitimacy to her game, and she just hasn't had the right stages to put it on. And yes, she's played in some Anmois, and yes, she had some experience there, but like clearly it's almost feeling like this is the year of Lottie Wout, and she knew that when she won Anmois.
That's a lot. That's a lot going on there, Jordan. I was thinking, hey, you make the cut here, your first major championship. That's cool. Let's try to T20 and keep it moving for a couple weeks to get the NCAAs. But you're sitting here going, no, she's a big time player. She's ready for this moment.
I mean, at one point today, she was only a shot back of the lead, right behind Nelly. Like,
that's easy when 30 people haven't teed off yet.
It was wild. It's still wild. Okay.
Not taking anything away from her. It's phenomenal.
The crazy thing is she seems like unaffected and unbothered by these stages that she's been put on. And the wild thing is she doesn't have a license. So she's, in her post round from Anmois, the comments were like, yeah, she Ubers to the practice range every day. It's like, all right. Now she's like, all right, I think I saw that I believe she said she got the last seat on her flight here to Houston because she was, scrambling to make sure that she was okay to miss ACC championship and everything. And then she's like, oh yeah, I got to figure out a caddy. Oh yeah, I got to figure out a place to stay. She's got a local caddy. The broadcast was kind of giving her a hard time. She's playing with Madeline and Gabby, I believe. And
it was an awesome pairing.
Yeah, really great. Gabby was getting relief from, I think, a drain or sprinkler head or something by the green. And they were like, Lottie's gonna go ahead and let Gabby get settled and whatnot. And then Madeline started putting, and they're like, oh, you don't really see that in the pros here, but Lottie hadn't marked her ball and Madeline was putting. And so they were kind of giving her a hard time. It's like, dude, this is her first ever pro event. She's got a local caddy. And she seems totally unbothered. And, she doesn't have any of her support system, none of her family that was all there for Anmois. I don't know if they're going to come out now that she's in contention, but I got a warning for anybody out there. Her dad you may hear him instead of the leaf blowers on the broadcast. He obliterated my eardrum at Anmois on 16 with a go on when she was, that putt almost went in. And I don't know if they're going to be down there, but it's just so impressive what she's done without any support system. This, frenzy of a couple weeks and everything. And the big thing that sticks out for me is that she just is unbothered by the stage and by the her surroundings at all. Augusta National things there. It's wild.
Yeah, I think it's cool that it's even possible for her to be playing in this right now, where, up until last year, this was opposite the ANA out in like basically ANWA and the LPGA were just clashing, and it wasn't really the best thing for women's golf. It's cool that
You had to
Lottie,
choose.
yeah,
There
exactly.
were a lot
and
of ANWA invitees who would get invited to this event, and then they'd have to pick.
Yeah, and then so I think on that it's also very interesting. Lottie's what, 19 or 20? She's never played in a major before. Some of these ladies have played in majors since they were 11 or 12, which is also kind of an interesting dichotomy there. And thirdly, like she may be practicing with Ludwig down in Tallahassee, because he's living down there with Vincent Norman and a few other Seminoles. So, she may be picking up on some of that, Maja Stark, Swedish, Peter Hansen mentality there of being extremely process based and confident and, kind of unflappable. So
her head coach, Amy Bond, I just want to add really quickly, when Lottie won, was saying like, yeah, Lottie has everything down to a T. She is so routine based. Like everything is just dialed like this and that. And it was funny because I guess in her golf, she's very routine oriented, very like committed to certain things. And then off of it, she's just very low key and chill. And some of that was coming out in the ANWA press conference, but would love to see more of that because she seems like a cool gal.
TC mentioned first major and that there's a lot of these people that have been playing in majors for 10, 15 years. Angela Stanford won. This is her 98th consecutive major, has been playing in major championships since before Lottie was born, which is a crazy fact to think of.
It's going back. It's kind of disappointing that if you win the girls amateur championship, you don't get into the women's open. Right? I guess you don't get into the US Open if you win the US Junior. You get into the AM, but I don't know. I feel like there should be. You do get into the US Open?
If you win the US Girls Junior, yeah.
Girls Junior. Okay. See, like that's something I'd love to see the RNA, adopt there. Bring in the Girls Junior champ to the Women's Open. I just feel like the career path and the trajectory there, it seems like it's on a much shorter timeline, junior all the way to, pro versus the men's game as well. So,
well, we mentioned Andrea Lee, Yalimi No with Lottie Woad there, T10. The others at T10, Anna Nordquist, the big Swede, rounds of 70-70. You like to see that on a course that, unless if you miss a green, you're going to either hit it in the sand or you're going to hit it kind of in this fluffy stuff where you're just going to chop it out. There's not a ton of short grass out there. And she actually likes that because she putts it. She doesn't really have to chip anywhere. So this could continue to feed into there. I did not expect Lottie to be low Brit here, but Jody Oerschadoff right there with her at T10. And then we get to Lydia Ko, TC. What do you think of Lydia's tournament so far? Had her a lot today on featured coverage on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, kind of an uneven round today. 3 bogeys, flubbed a chip at one point, and then almost chipped the next one. And I was like, whoa. Like, you got to putt that next one after you flubbed that. But, iron play was a little bit uneven. She hit a couple really, really shaky approaches. Wedges were good in spots. She had a couple, biggest thing here is just, it seems like you really got to earn the birdies on the par 5s, especially with how they've had it set up. Like that whole location on what was that, 4 today? All the way back right there. I mean, some massive greens, raised greens, all sorts of little plateaus and very, very Nicklaus quadrant style stuff going on at Carlton Woods.
We'll touch on the course and overall course stuff a little bit later. But that gets us through our top 10. I think -4, and who we have in this group right now, I know we're going to get to how far back is too far back, but I think that's a pretty solid group of people that you're going to see the eventual champion rise up from there. Jordan, am I wrong with that assessment at all?
No, I mean, I think early in the day we were feeling, okay, this is Nelly's, like, this might be over. And I'm looking at the leaderboard now and I'm like, this is totally not over.
Yeah. Meg, different?
No, I mean, we're halfway through. We're 50% of the way there. I think a lot can happen. I do think like the course can be stretched out quite a bit more than what it has, which I think plays into Nelly's favor. But we're expecting some rain, right? Friday, today and Saturday.
Yeah, I was about to pull up the forecast here.
Honestly, should be getting some showers like right now.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get a little overnight, but I don't know if those greens have the ability to soften up at all. They seem so firm.
Yeah, supposed to be 50% chance of showers, some patchy fog in the morning, cloudy chance of showers and thunderstorms, highs in the lower 80s, east winds pretty similar to today, and then cools off on Sunday. High is only 66 on Sunday. So, but should be dry.
I'm getting a weather report from Tron here on this.
That's official meteorology report.
Feels official.
Always.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. There's some good players at 3, like Stephanie Kiriakou, Carlota got to 2. She had a great round today, 67. Brooks at 2. NASA's at 2. Gabby Russell's
TC's going down the leaderboard. I think that's to go down the leaderboard.
I think 2 is in it. 1 is too far back, in my opinion.
We will get to that game later. Meg, closing thoughts before you get out of here. I know you got to go, do your motherly duties. What do you think? What do you think? If I ask you who's going to win this outside of Nelly, who are you going to go with?
Important note, like Nelly's played on the worst side of the draw too.
Yes.
So if we're picking Nelly or the field, I'm in on Nelly. I think you're right. Like there's some names that won under, but I feel like that's a stretch there. Like Alison Corpuz is there. I think that's too far though. Gabby's at 2. I was hoping for a little bit more out of her today, but it's just the crazy thing about this Nelly run is that you get the sense of inevitability, and we got that Thursday when she's right there, right out of the gate, and that's the feeling I have still, which is wild to say, only 2 rounds through a major. But like you mentioned earlier, whether she does it or not, the story is still the streak in this historic run that she's on. It's really hard to go against her. It's really hard.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you again to Meg Adkins. You can find her at the Fried Egg. You got to subscribe to the Fried Egg newsletter. You get your weekly dose. I won't say daily dose, but bi-weekly dose of everything Meg content there. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you for having me. Thanks, on. Man. Cheers. All the things.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Meg. All right,
real quick before we get to our next guest.
Okay.
I gotta shout out Shinsil Bang here. Okay.
Okay.
She shot 65 today. She's currently sitting T5, 74-65. Shot 31 on the front today. Went birdie, par, birdie, eagle, birdie on 5 through 9. And truly a Shinsil Pang. I was not familiar with your game situation. So
I'm proud of you for jumping on the name there, because TC, we're gonna get to our ESPN Plus coverage. I was kind of getting drugged last night by the Korean delegation on Twitter for my mispronunciations of a lot of these names. None of them were out of offense. I was not trying to be malicious by any means, just trying to get through it when there's a lot of things going on live. People are talking into both ears. You're trying not to mumble and slur and everything else. But TC, let's pay a bill real quick before we get our guy in, KVV. Hopefully people have read his article up on nolayingup.com, talking a lot about Nelly. We're going to welcome him in to highlight that and kind of talk about what he's seen so far of Nelly through 36. But this is brought to you by our friends at Titleist and the Vokey design wedges. And we got a couple of notes here from the Titleist tour truck, TC. I stopped in there on Tuesday, saw our friends, and they got some wedges that are absolutely dialed in this week. Once again, there's more Vokey gap, sand, and lob wedges in play this week at the Chevron Championship than any other brand. Same as the Augusta National Women's Amateur and the Masters. Looking at the lob wedge, a lot of T grinds and L grinds went into play this week. Conditions at the Woodlands are ideal for those lower bounce lob wedges. Fairways are cut very tight. The greens are firm, which requires players to hit plenty of high and soft shots around the greens. I think that's exactly what we've seen so far.
Yeah, tee grind is honestly, it's been a game changer for me. I mean, people rightfully so shit all over my wedge game, especially my chipping, just all over the internet. And I can confidently say you're going to see some better wedge play out of Torah Sauce, like the upcoming episodes. Cody saw it firsthand.
I did.
And I can chalk up a lot of that to the tee grind, both out of the bunkers, just, full shots from the fairway and chipping as well. It's that low bounce. It's like 4 degrees of bounce. And I love it where you can open it up and that leading edge doesn't really come off the turf, where I feel like on some of those high bounce, like I play a 58 degree on some of those high bounce wedges, that leading edge comes off the turf and you feel like you're going to cut the ball in half sometimes when you're trying to open it up, which for me is not a good
feeling for you.
And then I end up chunking it because I'm afraid to come up out of it. So anyway, go get yourself a tee grind.
TC is absolutely dialed. The reason why he is dialed in is because we've all been through the fitting process and experienced the benefits of getting dialed into the right loft, bounce, grind combinations for your swing and course conditions. It's absolutely critical to playing your best. You'll have more confidence. You're not going to cut the ball in half. You'll have more shots around the greens, and you'll get the ball up and down more often. Specifically, those new Vokey SM10 wedges. They got 25 different loft, bounce, and grind combinations. If you're not sure where to start, go to Vokey.com. They have a great wedge selector tool that will get you recommended for a setup and answer a few of your questions about your current game, current setup, and typical course conditions. But if you want the best option, just go get fit. You can find they have a fit locator on their website as well, or hit up the guys at TPI and try to get something scheduled there. Head on over to Titleist.com/fitting to learn more. Find those fitters in your area. Thanks to Titleist and the Vokey team. Let's bring in our guy, KVV. Again, we talked a little bit about his written piece this week, but KVV, what stood out to you so far? 36 holes in, where's Nelly at?
Just the professionalism of her game right now. Like, right, it didn't seem like she played remarkable, but she just seems like she's on kind of like slow cruise control. Like nothing, no drama, no like stressors over stuff, just kind of mashing it down the fairway every time, putting the ball in the center of the green when she has to. I mean, 2 is a great example, right? Today she double bogeys the first, puts it, probably 25 feet from the pin, the safe, smart shot, rolls in that putt. It's like, okay, like if you're going to do that, like you're just going to dominate. I agree with listening to Megan. It just feels kind of inevitable, right? She's just, this is how I hesitate to say this, but like, this is how Tiger used to win majors. He used to feel like he didn't take the lead like right away. He didn't take the lead in the second round, but he was coming. He was coming. And it's just like, it's awesome to see her just in total control. And by the way,
please address what's going on.
If you're looking on the live show here and you're seeing me for the first time without a beard, I was inspired by Nelly's like 7-week break. She took off from the game, came back and just kicked ass. I was like, you know what? Like we all need a little reset. So, went off to Prague myself. She got shaved. No, I just went home and was like, you know what? I was feeling a little weary from the Masters. Maybe like
I was going to say
cheese stuck in the beard. It's like the whole thing had to go.
This has to be prime Augusta, like week at Augusta hangover, where you're just like on the road, been working, sun up till sundown, past sundown every single night. You're trying to keep up with all your boys out there. It seems like you came home and you're like, wait a second, I need a fresh start.
Yeah. Also, I think it makes me look about 20 years younger. So I'm looking to sort of set back our team demo a little bit. So watch out, Jordan, hanging in the same demo now. I'm going to be like using, your language, your teen lang. So sorry.
Don't come to my Gen Z throne.
That's right.
Not.
KVV, we got a couple people in the chat here. They're shouting you out though because you're actually using blades again. So I think the year of the blade, folk.
That's right.
Your clan, mafia folk, they're happy that you actually got some
Titleist can get me fit in those 680s anytime. I'm happy to be the blade.
I think that's on you, buddy.
KVV, I want to applaud your setup too. You've been doing some work there at home. It's looking more and more coherent and really
You know, we
focused
got a little
behind you there.
got a little Isabel stuff there, got a little
Yeah.
golf stuff, a little Marco Simone. I know Marco Simone is close to your heart, TC.
It is.
And then some strapped posters. So hopefully starting to feel a little bit at home. After a year, you'd think that the guy could get his studio set up, but yeah.
And the Peloton made the trip. Excited to
That's
see
right.
that back there
That's
still.
true.
All right.
Randy was asking earlier, and I asked on the live stream earlier, Lottie Woad, if she continues this, she needs to sign up for Ladies European Tour membership because she needs to play in the Solheim Cup.
There you go.
Like that's a weapon for them coming up and going on the road this year at Robert Trent Jones Golf Club.
She might be the Lady Ludwig, TC.
Exactly.
Like
That's what
meteoric rise.
I'm trying to tee up here,
Yeah.
I was
Wait,
out here
thought-
making calls for the Curtis Cup, but like, let's just skip that altogether.
Yeah.
Jordan's
How
like,
you
quit
calling
robbing
her
McCurtis Cup squads. That's-
Lady
That
Ludwig.
poor TV&I.
Ingrid's
Poor
still
TV&I.
coming. Yeah, what is going on here? She's not even. You're jumping countries. I understand you guys are trying to keep this on Team Euro here, but I will say this: since we're talking about Solheim Cup, we touched on this during the broadcast. Currently, the way that the European team looks is a heck of a lot different than any of the last 3 teams that they put out there. Charlie Hall, of course, still leading on top of that list of the LET list. So they run off 2 of them, LET and then the Rolex list. But Charlie, Alexandria Fosterling, Anna Pelez Trevino, Carlota, Bronte, and then Celine. Celine firmly held that spot top spot down last year based off of her play. Just, the string of wins that she has. She's in jeopardy of not even making the LET list. She's gonna, she'll be saved by the Rolex list. But when you get towards the bottom of them, and why this is important this week is because, it's major championship, and I understand they have 5 of them, but they get a lot of points here. And specifically for if you're a full-time LET player that happen to qualify here, like this is where you need to make your move.
Yeah, it's I think Celine, especially after, she missed the cut this week, especially after a kind of a weird showing in Spain last year where she just didn't, allegedly didn't want to play with certain players.
Yeah, not so much based off play, but I think more based off personality,
Team room,
team room stuff.
Yeah.
She needs to turn it around because not quite the start that she's envisioned here.
Totally.
KVV,
Yes.
you wrote an excellent piece on Nelly. I think from the time that you were able to stop thinking about the Masters and you focus your attention to Nelly and this major championship, what really stood out from you or for you, excuse me, while doing the research for the piece?
I think just that Nelly is learning still, even at this point in her career, like the balancing act between being great on her terms and being great as for the sport. I think that's going to be something that she's going to struggle with. She's naturally just kind of an introverted person. There's a little bit of shyness there, and she's learned how to deal with that and learn to be in the public spotlight. But when you're a great, great player in a sport that is trying to bring in viewers however you can, you're going to be asked to do a lot of stuff that you might not just love. And I think she's done a pretty good job with it, but it was really interesting to hear Stacey Lewis kind of say, like, she needs to be doing more. She needs to get in here and be in here, giving the media a couple hours a week. And as hard as that might be for Nelly, I think that like it's kind of the one, tide is lifting all the boats, right? If Nelly were to do that, I think that it would see more interest. I mean, if Nelly does pull this off, I think you're going to start to see a lot of fringe fans be like, yo, I got to check this out. Like, I want to see her. So I would love to see her like on the LA podcast. I'd love to see her, doing Sports Center. I'd love to see her doing all kinds of stuff. And she's good at it. Like she isn't like the most dynamic personality, but she's really smart and she's really interesting. And she has a lot of interesting background and life experience. And I just think as hard as that's going to be part of what's asked of her. And I just, my kid is asking me questions about her tonight. Like what's, Nelly's grandparents from Prague. Like what, tell me about her dad. And so I'm filling her in on all this stuff. And, part of that is like, she's slowly been willing to open up about some of that stuff, but she is super private and she just is going to feel more comfortable being in her bubble. So I think that hopefully the piece kind of captured a little bit of that, where she's talked a little about this year about, hey, I need to like disappear into this kind of silo after these wins. I need to kind of get away from everybody be by myself. That's, you know, traveling by herself this year has kind of been a big step in her maturity. And, you know, I think that's kind of cool. Like I love the idea of people like figuring out who they are in their 20s and sort of using that for professional success going forward. So I think it's been fun to watch her blossom in that way this year.
It's also interesting too, like having a sibling on tour, you know, your entire career, and then kind of, you know, Jess obviously having her first child and taking a step back from pro golf a little bit right now, and you know, having that opportunity to for the first time really be able to, you know, hey, you know what, this is actually my routine. That's not my routine because my sister told me to do that, kind of thing. Yeah. I think also, like, just with Nelly, it's, you know, people want her to open up or do more pressers or do more media or whatever. None of that stuff matters unless she's winning. I feel like in the past, it's been kind of foisted on her of, hey, you're the face of women's golf. And maybe doing it to a certain extent, she's, you know, she felt like, hey, I haven't earned that, right? I've won one major, haven't won a lot the last few years. And, you know, some of that's health related, but, you know, first things first, I think if she starts getting the wins and all that, then maybe she's one of those people that actually feels like she's earned it. And then feels like, hey, you know what, I can let my guard down a little bit, or I can be myself a little bit. This is truly on my terms now, instead of people just telling me that, hey, I'm this, you know, appointed face instead of having earned it.
Totally. I mean, it's, you know, she has no interest in being an influencer, right? Like she's here for the golf, and she's a golf nerd. And I think that's kind of really cool. You know, in the same way that Tiger was a golf nerd and didn't feel exactly like super comfortable sharing a lot of himself. Now she's, you know, a 10th as famous as he was, but I do think that there is some sort of similarities there of like, hey, I only want this because like the golf is the ultimate goal. And so, you know, I get why Molly and the commissioner, you know, is asking her to do a little more. Some of the other players want her to do a little more because they see the benefit of it. You know, that having her be on SportsCenter would be huge for everybody. And it's just going to have to sort of find the right lane to pick for herself in those situations.
Yeah. She just loves ball.
She does.
I mean, you watch a shot on 9 today. Like that was so cool. She's in the sand. That is like a nightmare scenario for me. Like the 110-yard wedge from like a, you know, fairway bunker, and the balance that she had to like stay down in that shot and hit it smart, you know, hit it 10 feet below the hole and roll that putt in. Like that was awesome. I was like, man, this is a professional golfer. When I think, you know, 3-4 years ago, I thought like, oh, like beautiful swing, but like doesn't quite understand maybe some of the shots that she needs to, the trajectories that she needs to control. And that was just like, wow, she is figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, you mentioned Nelly. You mentioned she's not an influencer, but there are a lot of influencers out there that use her swing specifically for engagement. And I think there's so much more to Nelly and her golf swing than just it looks good on tape. And I just want those people, and you see it when they live in this social media world where it's like everything's directly in front of you. Like, yeah, go like watch her play around.
Yeah,
go watch.
I mean, I put that line in the article, Cody, almost as like a, you know, a jab at those people. It's like, okay, if you want to share Nelly's swing all the time on Instagram or on Twitter and be like, describe Nelly's swing in like one emoji or what's one word, then you better also be like covering women's golf. Like I don't
be about it.
Sort of like, you know, poaching in to sort of like sneak the engagement out of stuff, but then have no idea like what Nelly's like career has been like, or, you know, could name a single tournament that she's won this year. That's why I wanted to sort of call out a little bit of those people. It's like, hey, we're all like this. It's really fun to follow the LPGA Tour. And I'm sure there's some guys out there listening to this pod who is like, oh, I don't know, man. Give it a shot and give Nelly a shot because it's freaking really fun to watch.
I really hope it doesn't rain much tomorrow and tonight, because I think with Nelly's spin, she spins the ball a lot more than most of the other players out there, and most of the other players up towards the top of this leaderboard. And Lauren does too. Lauren's got a nice trajectory. I think, you know, these greens staying firm is really an advantage for Nelly. And, you know, and then, I mean, shit, looking at the rest of the kind of the next 6 weeks on the LPGA Tour, like they go to Wilshire next week, like that's, or not next, or next week, 25th, 28th. That's a, you know, super kind of firm, fast golf course. They go to, you know, Cognizant, that'll be a little smaller, up at Upper Montclair, that'll be a little softer up there, but Liberty National, and then they go to Lancaster for the, like what a stretch coming up on the women's side. Like, you know, this major and then basically 4 out of 5 weeks there through end of May into early June. That's like, it's going to be, this is the meat of women's golf season right now. And it's great because I think on the men's side, things kind of taper off,
die
a little
out.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, really up until PGA Championship in a few weeks, like it's, or kind of a month, like we don't really have a whole lot going on the PGA Tour side. So,
I mean, I know you're pumped for, Craig T. James Ranch here in a couple weeks, TC, but you're right. Venues matter. And the stretch that the LPGA Tour has coming up is their prime time stretch. Like these courses are absolutely amazing. Yeah, I don't know. And Nelly just impresses me, everything she does. TC, you mentioned hopefully not getting too much water. They had the sprinklers on that course all the way up until we started playing the Pro-Am. And theoretically they were wet from a ton of sprinkler coverage, and they were just as firm as they played the last 2 days. I don't think the soil there, whatever sod that they used to lay down on,
or they sand capped it. Yeah.
On the approaches, or excuse me, and the fringes. Like, I just don't think it's possible right now for them to accept that much water. It's just like draining out, because there's no way that the sod actually has a root structure for it to like go down into the ground and be, the moisture isn't used for anything. It's nuts how firm they are. And I'll say this, is it possible? Is it possible? Yeah. Is it possible to say that, like, I think they've played great. And I know that there might be a little scuttlebutt out there because a lot of the women, their swing speeds are not up. They're hitting longer clubs into these, and they're truly having to play run-ups up here and trying to figure out what their actual carry and then release yardages are, versus a player like Nelly, who has plenty of distance and has the speed where she's putting spin on her ball. It's such an advantage for these longer players, specifically on a course like this.
It's a tough course to have really firm greens and really firm aprons too, because a lot of pushed up greens, a lot of Nicklaus quadrant stuff going on. And yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting how they set it up this weekend, because I've been shocked at how A, I think they've brought up some of the tees, but B, like I think the hole locations have been pretty tricky for the most part. I mean, the par threes are tricky out there, really shallow greens. So shallow greens plus firmness, not a lot of grain in them, but you do not want to be short-sighted on those. And then the par fives, like where you're going to, really make hay. It's been tough to get it close on some of those. So
can I just shout out, guys, Nelly's lag putting, like, or her putting from distance. Like, she left so many putts stone dead today, whereas like right in the throat, tap in, like no stressor. I mean, Cody, you saw her at the British Open last year. I watched her really closely at the US Open. Like, the putting could come and go, right? It could be streaky. She could put a lot of stress on herself when the ball striking wasn't perfect. It's just so cool to watch her basically just kind of walk off the green and kind of like shrug and be like, all right, well, I might have lipped that one out, or but I left the next one like absolutely just to tap in. And I think that, I know the putting stats are similar, but it sure feels like there's a lot less strain on them right now.
I know. I go back to what Justin Ray told us too, KVV, and I'm like, it's impossible that her putting stats last year compared to this year are close to the same, because just visually you're like, it's so much better.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly,
she just looks so much more confident, right? She just looks like she's trying to make the long ones instead of just squirt, get them down there. And yeah. I don't know, like the eye test to me says like absolutely better.
Yeah. And really, I'll say this for both rounds, she sits here 7 under through 2 rounds, and both of her opening holes each day are not how she drew them up. Like the double to start today, but really, if you go back like to her opening hole of this tournament, she had a kind of shaky wood off of number 10, and then just got absolutely boned and clipped a single branch that she couldn't, knocked it straight down, and then was kind of on her back foot trying to get the ball, trying to save a 4 there, ended up making 5. And then it was kind of like she was kind of nervy there through 11 and 12, and really till she got to that par 3, absolutely stuffed it, missed the putt, and then ended up making birdie on the par 5. I mean, it's not each one of these rounds. She's had adversity in it, and she's just completely let it roll off her back. She's like, yep, okay, just going to keep moving. Got 18 more holes.
Now we are talking like this is a little bit of a foregone conclusion. You know, I see my guy Randy's in the chat saying maybe Neil was low on the 11 majors.
I was going to ask, at what point do we owe Neil a mea culpa? Like how many majors does Nelly have to get to? So for background here, Neil called over under was 11. I think he said she's going to win at least 11 majors.
But by the way, you can't set the over or under number at like
number.
It's got to be like 11 and a half. I think.
He was basically like Nelly's going to win 11 majors. She's won one currently. She's 25. Granted, women have 5 majors per year, but at what number does she need to get to where we stop shitting on Neil? Like 6, like halfway there.
Would be, if she gets 6 and she's halfway. 28, I think then Neil gets to peacock a little bit, but until then, like I'm not sure.
And she's got a pretty long languid swing which should age well, but she's also had some injury issues as well. So kind of, but it seems like she loves golf to the point of like this is what she wants to do. Up and
now I will
say
I don't
this reminds me so much of the Scotty talk that we had post players going into Houston Easter Sunday. He's gonna rise. He's gonna keep this streak going, guys. And we're like, wait a second, like the dude needs to get like a second major. How about we get Nelly a second major here first before we start talking about double digits?
And I will say, like we, prior to Chevron last year, we sort of said like this is a moment for Nelly. Like Nelly can run down these people. And she just kind of had nothing going on all day. She makes that eagle in the last hole, and it was like, it was never actually in contention. It was very much like a Wikipedia sort of feeling like a top 5 or whatever. But it isn't a sure thing. Like down the stretch of some majors, she's kind of been meh. But right now, it just seems like a different person. Just seems like a killer in contention. I have to think, right, TC, if you said it, if it's firm. This is like the one thing that makes me happy is like it's a major conditions, right? Where it's a 68 feels really like a good score, really earned. And that's how I want to see a major contested where, the final, let's say the final is 8 under, 9 under here to win. That might be even high, and that would be a great test, I think, of skill.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I'm keen to see what Ataya does. I'm keen to see what Heyron Yu does. She's, she won last year. She won in Arkansas last year in towards the end of the season last year. Maja is a good contender. And, I'm buzzing to see what Lauren does tomorrow. Yeah. I think Lauren comes back out, steadies herself and starts playing aggressive golf again. And is right there. I want to see Lauren in one of those final 2 groups on Sunday. And, because I believe in her and I know a lot of other people do too. I want to see her.
I want to see John in the heat of it too. That's I got to hang out with him. The Masters was so much fun. We walked around and I was like asking her like, all right, how would you hit this shot into 11, Lauren? And how would you, take on this pin? And it was really fun to like pick her brain and talk to her about golf stuff. And then got to talk to Big John about, like how's the caddying working out? Like how you, and he's very much taking it so seriously. He's getting up every morning at 6 and he's walking the courses and he's shadowing the other caddies to sort of figure out what it's like to be a real caddy. And, he's almost like, I think they're figuring out like their relationship a little bit on the course and, not saying sorry or making sure she didn't believe in him a couple times. And there's a couple times where she told me like, he told her like, all right, 135, right here. It's an easy 9-iron. She came up way short and he was like, what was the deal there? Like she hit that fat and she's like, no, I hit pitching wedge. And he's like, what? Why? She's like, well, I didn't know if I trusted you on the yardage, or she pulled the wrong club instead of like letting her hand the club. And like those kind of things are, that's natural growing pains. But to see how much success they've had already is like really cool.
That's terrifying as a spouse.
Oh, totally.
Just to think about that.
He's not a spouse inside the ropes. Come on.
No,
guys.
I know, but man,
she's got to come. So right, dude, like the pressure on a major championship of like, oh, dude, I've never done this before. Like, I actually have to get all this stuff right,
and it's your livelihood, and like it's the whole family's livelihood. That's crazy. One of the biggest purses of the year.
TC, it felt very much like us, talking all this stuff about, oh yeah, I changed this about the broadcast. Why don't they do this? And then you're like, finally get put on ESPN Plus for something. And you're like, wait, where's the direction? Where are we going next? Oh, you want me to talk now? I thought TC's talking. All right. I will say this, I had dinner with Hads. It's Maja's caddy. And we met up with a bunch of other caddies afterwards. And then we went over to Lauren's mom and dad's house at the Woodlands, and sitting there talking to John. I think the biggest compliment that the rest of the caddies that were there, and they said this, first of all, not in front of him. And then when he came back out, they said it in front of him as well, is just honestly how much work John is putting into it. He's not out there because he's LC's husband. He's there because regardless of what was going to happen, this is what he wanted to do. It's a surprise that he got her bag right now, but he, quit his former job to go travel to be with his wife week in and week out, and to caddy on the LPGA Tour. And the veteran caddies that are out there are so impressed because, just like you said, KVV, he's out there super early in the morning learning to plot stuff. He's picking everybody's brain. He's trying to become this professional caddy, and it seems like he's doing a really, really good job. And when you have those guys, some of them have been out there for 30, 35, 40 years singing his praises, you're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some talk, and I think it may still happen there. He was going to kind of do a little bit of an apprenticeship with a professional caddy. He's going to shadow, Annika's former caddy and sort of figure it out. But who knows? Like, heck, if you win a major, you might not even need that aspect of things. You might just jump the line right into the catbird seat.
He's going to Lottie load it.
Yeah. He might become the agent. Who knows? Maybe the manager. He's like, I got my cut of that, major check. Now I can just coast the rest of the year off being manager.
They've got a comfy pairing tomorrow. They're with Maya, Minami Katsu, and Lauren off at 11:08 local. So Ataya, Jinhee Im, and Nelly, great pairing. And then Lottie Woad, Andrea Lee, and Yulimi No. That's 3 very promising young players there as well. So, guys, I think it's time to ask a question. How far back is too far back?
TC, I'm glad you asked this. So right now we got 2 at 8 under. Low score has been 65, I think. I'm gonna go. Today, yeah. I'm gonna go with 2 under. The group at 2 under is too far back.
Yeah, I think that's what I would pick too. I mean, looking at, Corpuz, you could see 2 great rounds from her at 1, but it just feels like there's no way that someone at 1 is going to shoot 267s, whatever, and then Nelly's going to back up, right? Like if those scores are out there, so somebody at the top is going to be able to shoot 70. So I just don't think anything outside of 2 even is a sniff at it.
Yeah, and that's leaving Carlota can go super, super deep. But she's also, pulling a plow everywhere she goes. So she might get chased off the course. I'm trying to think who else in that 2 under, 1 under group. I mean, it sucks. Gabby.
Brooke.
Yeah,
Brooke. Ayaka could do well. But
we had Brooke on coverage today, TC. Her ball striking, she hits the crap out of the golf ball from like the tee box. It doesn't matter if it's a driver or 3-wood. And I always thought that her ball striking was a lot cleaner than it was today. And I was like, it was kind of shocking, to be honest.
Putting didn't look great either. So
not only that, but off the tee, like, why are you hitting driver that is forcing you into every single fairway bunker possible? And then it's just, highlighting the fact that you're kind of, your ball striking isn't the best right now, and you go and you're just chunking fairway shots out.
All right, time for picks.
I mean, I'll stick with Nelly. We'll say if I can write about the winner prior to the tournament, a real difficult pick there to pick the outright favorite. But I'm going to go ahead and say that she wins 2 majors this year, and this is the first one. This is like going to go down as like the best year of Lilia won 2 last year, but sort of answering like that, the bell of like, all right, now I'm volleying back, and now I'm saying I'm the best American player.
Welcome to the team, KVV. We've talked about this at length so far this year. Mr. Landis, the haters that are out here. I said this from the get-go about Nelly. TC is going to say something now because he's on the spot. There's no way that anybody cannot say Nelly right now.
I think it's Ataya.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think
You're not worried
she's-
about honeymoon period at all.
No.
I don't know. 69, 67 seems like she's gaining steam. I
T4
don't
here
think-
last year.
Yeah, but like we just got to the honeymoon, right? It's the honeymoon doesn't end until next week, right? So
Remind me, Ataya was like had a like kind of gagged on the last hole last year, right? Like just chunked it in the water when she had a chance to straight outright win the tournament. Am I remembering that right?
No, that was Angel.
No, but Ataya did too. Like I feel like she
It was
was
a rough
in the fairway in
finish.
2 and like had a chance to kind of make birdie and get into that playoff and completely like hit a terrible shot. Pretty certain that's my memory is correct there.
See real quick.
I mean, she finished 4th or whatever, but she was right there, and she hit a really good drive on 18 that had a chance. I mean, I was thinking to myself like, oh man, Ataya is going to win this this championship, and then all of a sudden she dunks it in the water. Angel melts down, and then Lilia comes in and wins it kind of from the 3rd spot almost.
I'll say the quality of the play this year, like last year, 10 under won. 8 under was T4. I think this year, I mean, they're already at 8 under. I think with firmer greens, trickier conditions. I think this is, there's some high level golf being played. Like it feels more like a major this year. I think last year we were all kind of rolling our eyes a little bit and saying, all right, like you can't just move the tournament, declare it a major to some random suburb outside of Houston. And this year it feels like, all right, between the build out, between the purse increase, between improvement year 1 versus year 2, all those things seem to add up to, plus course setup, all that stuff seems to add up to, hey, this feels like they're moving in the right direction with this thing.
I like the course better this year. I feel like, I don't know. It's starting to warm to me. Last year, maybe you're right, TC. I just was kind of snarky about it and wishing that it was, back in Palm Springs. But this year watching it today, I was like, no, I kind of like some of the shots that are forced to hit here.
It's tough.
I think the greens, I think there's a massive difference from the way that this golf course played last year to how it's playing now. Last year, it was kind of like, it was a dart fest. I mean, they had weather that they had to contend with, but it was just, you could throw it at every single pin and like that's basically it. And I think this is when we get, we talk about this a lot, but like the fact that having the ball rolling and continuing to be on the ground adds such variability into it. But like, that's what's making it exciting.
Yeah. I think it's I think on TV, it doesn't necessarily shine through just because you get some of that kind of hazy spring Houston southern weather. Like it's just kind of, it just looks kind of gray out there, right?
I don't know. Is Houston ever not like that? Maybe in the fall?
Yeah, that's true.
It looks like 2019 Spieth, is what you're saying, the TC, like kind of just all gray all the time.
Which is better than current Spieth with the black generic hat there. So
you guys are right. KVV hit the nail on the head though on Ataya last year. She started the final round. She was 7 under. Leaders were at 10 under, and then made it to 18. Had an opportunity that would have been to get in that playoff. Ended up shooting final round 71 to get her in at 8 under. At the playoff between Lilia and Angel was at 10. So spot on there.
Bogey on 18 there too. It was like a totally unexpected bogey. I think or she hit a shank or something that was just like,
I think her and Alam Kim both shanked it on 18 there.
Yep.
Guys, one thing that could help as well if it does rain, you think they got plenty of blowers.
Oh man,
plenty.
Do they ever? My God, I'm tuning in to hear you guys and like.
Thank you for that.
I was like, is it a drone fest or what going on there?
Yeah.
KVV, I know you were on the ground last year, but it was almost well, actually I'll say the blowers that are going on right now at Carlton Woods it's a lot more annoying, I believe, than the damn airplane that we had at LACC last year. Because at least the airplane at LACC last year was a constant just buzz, and it was as loud as it could be. But these, man, I don't know how they must got some souped up blowers or something going on.
For sure.
Jordan, for the record, you've got a tie as well.
Yes.
Okay. We are a house divided.
No, well, yes, we are. Not
Yeah.
between you and I, but between everyone else, between all the Nelly homers. It's okay. I get it. It's a safe pick, but a tie is coming.
All right, I have a question. Would you jump in the pond?
Me specifically?
Well, I'm gonna split to the
All of
group,
us?
but we can start with
Yeah.
you, Jordan. Like, would you, if you won, would anyone jump in the pond? Because there was all that controversy last year. It's kind of a stupid thing. Was Lily going to jump in the pond? They had like the Gator gate set up, like in theory that the Gator couldn't, I don't know, walk around the gate and get back in the pond. It just seems kind of disgusting to me. And I'm kind of wondering if Nelly might end this tradition. Just be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not doing it.
So Jordan, you would or wouldn't? I mean, Florida woman, right?
Yeah.
When in Rome, right? I mean, guys, look, I felt like Poppy's pond looked a little safer, and they
It
made
wasn't a pond. They made it in a swimming pool.
Yeah, but I jump in the pond. I mean, you're already winning it. Like, why not?
Well, there would be snakes in there.
Oh,
Might be
yeah,
like an Indiana
KBV,
Jones situation.
I was telling
That's a
them-
tough situation you just brought up, KVV.
I was telling them before we hopped on the pod. Jordan was laughing at me and scoffing, but I saw a snake on the way back from Freddie's baseball game in our driveway. Went into some bushes in the backyard, and I think we now need to sell our house. So I don't do snakes. I texted my wife Alex. She said I'll look for the snake when I get home. Okay.
Tough state to live in if you don't do snakes, TC. I mean, you got these owners. I feel like we should talk about this on the Trap Draw. It's people buying pythons from zoos and stuff and then releasing them into
it's down
the
in the
Everglades.
Everglades. And I feel like we live on an island out here, and it's much more. Snakes don't really come out to the beach as much.
Okay.
So
Well, that was snake
Cody,
chat.
would you
Thank you.
jump in?
If I was, if I put myself in any of these players' shoes specifically, so I say Nelly, I become Nelly for a day. I don't know what you're like. She's going to get peer pressured into it. There's so many people that are out there that, they'll have the robe ready to go and all the cameras will be there waiting. So she will do it because anybody's natural instinct is to be a people pleaser and continue tradition. And I think there's a lot of silly traditions that are out there. And this is going to be one that is continued. But me personally, I would say I don't know why they're really doing this. I understand a Poppy's Pond because they probably had chlorine in that thing. It wasn't even, it was a different color.
I think somebody got sick one year and they like afterwards, and so they.
I think somebody
had
jumped
some victims, man. Like somebody broke their ankle in it.
Yeah, because they would
sort of like giardia or some sort of skin virus or something.
Well, they would take their shoes off and everything.
You're not supposed to care about the consequences. Just jump in the pond.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if we're talking about this is number 5, eventually I would hope that there would be a number 6 somewhere down the line. And if you jump in and who knows what's down there, you get a little gator bite, snake bite, who knows? Maybe you just pick up some weird bacteria in there.
What if Nelly's
You're Nelly for a day. Nelly's from Florida.
What if the Nelly slam goes out the window because of the damn pond? That's what I'm saying. We need to protect her at all costs.
Need to figure out if she's got an insurance policy. That's what we need to do. And what I'm sure she does, but what is it?
Anybody that missed the cut obviously Lilia withdrew, back injury there, but I think Patty Tavatanikit, she tried to make a run today to make the cut, but finished 2 outside.
Celine mentioned her already, TC. I'll say this right at the top, barely missed it at 3 over. Megan Kang, I know that was one of your early picks.
Rose, how about Jordan? Give us some thoughts on Rose.
I don't think it's a good course fit. I mean, she played well at match play, but I don't think Carlton Woods is a course fit for her.
Jordan, is there an issue with Rose where are there not enough course fits for her? Because she's not a bomber and she's not necessarily a great putter. She's just a really, really great iron player and a good competitor. And I think, in order to kind of achieve greatness, she needs to, maybe find more off the tee, or I don't know. It just seems like there should be more course fits for somebody with Rose's profile.
Yeah. I think maybe just kind of elevating it to the next step where she fully hasn't come around there yet. And again, I think of other amateurs, maybe in the context of Lottie Wood, who's having a lot of success this week, who, again, obviously Lottie Wood's still an amateur. Rose only done with her rookie year of golf. And I think of it and it's there's a level of completeness there that I don't feel like Rose has fully, capitalized on just yet. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't know, and it's something I've started to think about recently because I'm like, just how many of these places really are course fits? And it's kind of weird to contextualize that just in terms of, she was so dominant at the previous level, right? And there was that element of distance and decent putting that was being asked of her. And there are places that she's played that, like, yeah, like those things have come alive, but I don't know. I don't know. And I think maybe perhaps when she's not on her A game, that's a question that we should certainly be asking more often.
It seems like she may suit some of those more classic Northeast courses better than a place like this. So, I think next week at Founders or US Women's Open or even Sahali, right? More of like, that's where KPMG is this year, more of a classic kind of tree line test. So,
I do have concerns, TC, while we're talking about Rose, though, is at some point in time, she's going to have to put on some distance. Like, she needs some speed. I understand this week is playing score, like overall yardage wise, this is the longest course that they played so far this year. And it's not going to be the longest that they play for the year. There's other majors last year and the year before that, lined up longer than this one, but they're playing it right at 6750 with these firm greens. Like, Rose is coming in from pretty far back when you're trying to, say, make a Rose comparison to a Nelly who's coming in with, 9 irons and pitching wedges.
Yep.
I think another kind of bomber that you're a little bit disappointed, like Bailey Tardy, one of the longer courses they play. Bailey Tardy's now had 5 starts this year. Cut, win, cut.
Yeah.
Wow.
She caught a massive bass though when my pro-am group was passing her on Tuesday.
Wow.
I was out there slinging that rod around.
How about Leona? I feel like, you guys were telling me about Leona, the Solheim Cup, about what an amazing, killer she was. And, obviously finals of the match play, but I feel like every time I tune in thinking that Leona is about to take some scalps, she just isn't. And so is it a me problem? Or
I think that's a course fit issue. Leona's not long at all. She runner up at the match play a couple weeks ago. I think course fit is probably more important for Leona than for most players out there.
Yeah, and green complexes and short game shots that you need to have creative shots into. Around the greens, this is pretty rudimentary. And it's when you're talking about overall length, she's hitting a lot of hybrids and long irons into these greens. But Leona is somebody, specifically how she played Baltusrol last year. Like, she probably should have won that major. I see her for a couple weeks in Lancaster. Sahali is right up. When I'm thinking of Leona's game, they're pretty good matches for her.
Yeah, I think one other one, Minji Lee, can't be missing the cut in majors. 74, 77. Can't do it. Can't have it. Not good.
On that line, is Jin Young Ko done being a great player? Is that a thing in the past?
It's her first tournament of the year.
Okay.
She's been out. So Ty has taken the headlines on being injured and being sidelined so far this year. But Jin Young Ko has had the same exact thing going on. Different injury, of course, but hasn't teed it up so far this year. I touched on Angela Stanford, finished at 3 over, 98th consecutive major. I think now the everybody at least around this event has done everything has done everything possible to highlight that to the USGA to see if they make some sort of decision to get the 99th consecutive major.
At some point, though, you can't just it kind of cheapens the streak itself.
It does.
Like, streaks are made to be, are made to end and made to be broken.
Or not given.
Yeah, right.
Go through qualifying if you want to make it.
That's a great point. I guess I never even didn't think about that. But I agree with you guys there that definitely earned not given, and there's a lot of the counter argument of that will be like, yep, and she made it all the way to 97 of those things earned, and not given. I think we're okay getting her across the finish line, but at the end of the day, you're chasing a number, and I still think 98 is a great number if that is where it ends at.
I think honestly, like I'm against USGA exemptions. If you won 3 US Opens, maybe I'm into it. Like I think Tiger should get one, once he no longer is eligible. But in general, like I think that's part of the deal, right? Is that you have an avenue into the tournament, go through qualifying. If you can't beat the plumbers and firemen who you're competing against, then like maybe you don't deserve to be there.
Well, in this case, the plumbers, firemen, and also like the 11 and 12-year-olds.
Yeah,
that's correct. Plumbers, firemen, and 6th graders.
Exactly.
I got a quick mea culpa in here too. Thanks to Dennis Kim in here. Jin Young, I guess, played 2 of the Asian events earlier this year. I completely missed that. So thank you for pointing that out.
Did you guys talk Lexi at all before I popped in? Because I feel like
no.
I know TC, it's one of your least favorite subjects, but like I just feel like I kind of get sad watching her beaten. She obviously had a little bit of a rebound this last year, and I kind of thought that maybe she might get the old vibes back from this event. Obviously, it was a different. But this is the only place she's ever, the only tournament, the only major that she's ever really been great in. I think that she's gone through the finish line. I don't know.
It depends on how many holes you need to play in order to be considered great, because she's had some great majors out there.
She's great for 70 holes, or 68 holes, So
I don't know. We had her on coverage. We had her on coverage. It's clearly her wrist is not in a good spot.
Okay.
It blows my mind how she's had this wrist injury for a long, long time, and at no point in time have they attempted to shallow her swing out at all. They basically treat it to get to a point where she's playable again. And then they're like, all right, let her rip. And then they're just doing straight damage control immediately afterwards. I'm like, don't you think she's still relatively young, that they would make some overall changes to it?
I don't know. Like Lexi with a broom putter and not getting so steep on it that the divots are the size of hoagies is a fascinating thought experiment.
What if they gave her an artificial turf mat? Like they do in the UK, pre-April 1st.
Now that's an exemption that I'd be into. Once you reach a certain age, you can hit off the artificial turf instead.
We watched her. She hit an awesome drive on 8, long par 5. And I was like, oh yeah, she crushed that thing. She's going to have a, mid to long iron into this green. And 2, she's going to get it up there and give herself a good eagle chance. And just watching her set up to the ball, she's probably hitting a 5 or 6 iron or something like that. Her ball position was almost towards her back foot. And I'm like,
almost towards her back foot. It was on her back foot.
Oh my goodness. She's going to her hand is going to come off of her wrist. She's just going to snap the entire thing off because of how steep she's about to get on this thing. It's nuts. Definitely, how she finished the year, how she played in the Solheim Cup last year. This is Lexi, though. She's going to turn it on,
Maybe.
middle of the summer and make this last-minute push. She's still there on the Rolex list, so you got 2 spots there. But she'll find a way.
Healthy, she'll be on.
Right. The more surprising thing so far this year is DK, Danielle Kang down there. One shot worse than Lexi at T9, rounds of 74, 79. I don't know what's going on there, but it's not good. And it hasn't been good so far this year.
The window for being great in the LPGA level is just really small. I mean, you look through and Aria Jutanagarden. I remember when there was a time when she looked like she was going to rip off 5-6 majors, and it was just unbelievable. She was longer than anybody in the game, and she hasn't been in contention in forever. She just doesn't seem like she's even the same person.
She's still long. She just refuses to hit a driver.
Yeah. Can't hit a driver.
I don't know.
We got a bunch of other golf this week. I just wanted to be good on Chevron. You want to touch on Harbor Town real quick?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we got Harbor Town. So we got 2 PGA Tour events. We got Harbor Town. We got Punta Cana. Our guy Justin Lowers, I think in second place in Punta Cana behind Wesley Bryan down there. One thing, all right, Harbor Town, you've got a guy like Troy Merritt, who is in 51st place. He's beaten 70 something, 80, 80 guys. He's in 51st place. He's in a similar spot in the FedEx Cup to Webb Simpson. Webb Simpson's also in 51st place at Harbortown in a signature event. He's gaining 2 or 3 spots in the FedEx Cup from his current position. 51st place, beating 17 or 18 guys, while Troy Merritt is losing 4 or 5 positions while beating, 70, 80 guys. The sponsor exemptions into this thing this year have really pissed me off. And I think, Adam Schupak had an article about it in Golf Week and some quotes from Webb that just seemed woefully ignorant to his position as, as a board member, as a veteran, all this stuff. And it's kind of one of those things with Webb where it's, hey man, like you're on the board making these decisions, making these new rules. And I know you didn't invent sponsor exemptions, but you invented signature events along with your colleagues. And they didn't even fill the field out this week. There's 69 guys. Like we can't get to 75. We can't get Nikolai Højgaard or other guys that are in the top 50 in the world rankings in. And I don't know, it's like the whole thing just feels so fucking taped together. And I'm tired of it. Like the tour posted something with Ludwig this week where he's still playing out of the Aon swing 10 or next 10 category or whatever. It's like this guy just like finished solo second at the Masters. He was in the Ryder Cup team last year. He won a PGA Tour event in the fall. Like, at what point is he just inside the top 50 and that's the category that he's playing out of? I don't know. I'm tired of it. But anyway, we got Tom Hoagie, Sepp Straka, Colin Morikawa, and the pound for pound undisputed champion of the world, JT Poston, at 11 under out front. Patrick Rogers, Ludwig, Mackenzie Hughes, all 10 under. And you know what? They all shot 66. All 3 guys at 10 under. So if Mackenzie Hughes can go 66 4 times, we'll see if he can that would be pretty impressive at Harbortown, I think. So been a good week there so far. You got Cantlay, you got Sahith, and then you got Scotty.
Scotty might win. Like
Scotty's 3 back, kind of didn't get off the bus on, shot 69 on Thursday and then 65 today. And Scotty's coming. And I think the only thing that can stop Scotty is trial birth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if 69 was your hangover round? Like, oh yeah, last week was just so exhausting. I flew back and the internet got all mad at me because I stopped to have a drink with my friends because my wife was asleep. Now I got to go all the way back to Hilton.
His wife was there, I think, by the
Yeah.
way. People were dragging him. His wife was like just outside the frame. She picked him up at the airport. It was the most silly controversy of all time.
What sacrifices? TC, I agree. Thank you for presenting that TC's mad as hell segment in order to get us a little bit of DR love on the leaderboard.
Scotty hasn't even made a bogey yet. He doubled his 3rd hole yesterday, but otherwise he has not made a bogey yet. He was clean card today on a course that is pretty agnostic, right? You gotta hit a lot of other than drivers here, less than drivers here off the tee. And no surprise, best iron player in the world right now is playing well around an iron player's course. I also got to give a shout out Tom Kim's T12. Probably one of the few courses that Tom Kim can truly compete on out there. So you got Rory T12, tie with Austin Eckroat as well. I'm going down the leaderboard on signature event on a Friday. We don't need me doing that. So
you cutting yourself off.
Thank you.
I'm cutting myself off.
This is
like
growth.
Nelly like restraint right there.
Holy
just
God,
being like, all right, you know what? We don't need to go for these pins. We're good.
I was gonna let you go, man. Let that dog hunt. All right, you talked about sponsor exemption. You mentioned Webb already. Sucks to see kids down there 4 over, currently T66. Gary Woodland T6, currently 6 over, currently T68, and then tied at the very bottom, Nick Dunlap. I don't know what's going on with Nick Dunlap. But this is not where I would expected him to kind of be. I know that life came at him really, really quick. But man, this isn't what I expected this young, what everybody wanted to make, star or future star or whatever, how when he actually came onto the PGA Tour, how it was going to turn out to be. So hopefully, continues to battle, find his way through it and through, I guess, signature events for the rest of the year, because he's a winner and he's going to get into it.
Jordan, what do you read into that, with kind of in the context of Sargent's announcement this week as well, that he's staying?
I almost think it's interesting because I was trying to contextualize that just a little bit, and I almost wonder if he watched Nick and the way that he was adjusting to life on tour and said, this is probably not a bad idea to stick back just for another year, because remember, if you earn that PGA Tour card, whether through PGA Tour Accelerated, which Nick Dunlap, by the way, regardless if he would have won or not and stayed, et cetera, would have still gotten it. Still would have happened. And I almost think Gordon looks at that and says, why not stay around? Why not? This is life on easy mode. This is, I don't have to answer to a bunch of sponsors. I don't have to go on the road week after week. I get to compete on a team and with all of my best friends. I get to test myself and try to dominate respective to my level, as opposed to feeling like I have to push myself to the limit every single week, unsure if I am, fully matched up. And I thought it was interesting for Gordon, because Gordon kind of year after year, it's almost been evaluated on a year by year basis for Gordon Sargent. And it's especially interesting now that, he's got secure status, could take off at any time. And it seems like, I think in some ways, it's a lot of wanting Vanderbilt to finally win a title, because they have not won the title yet in the whole time that he's been there. And I think this honestly is probably the best Vanderbilt team that he's been with. They are all ranked inside of the top 20 in the World Amateur Golf ranking. There is a really good chance that they get it done, even though there's a lot of other strong teams, UNC. But yeah, and it's interesting because I look at Gordon's year, and it's not been as dominant as his other years.
It seems like he's got some stuff to work on.
Yeah. He's kind of, settled off just a little bit, and that's probably not such a bad thing, because if you can kind of sit there and identify your weaknesses and not necessarily say, well, I'm going to catapult from this streak of wins or incredible pro starts or whatever I'm doing over here and this, that, and the other. And you can kind of say, well, I can identify myself in a low moment and I can push myself forward. Granted, he's coming off of a win, but I think if he's able to kind of see his game in different seasons in college and kind of understand himself in the world, that there is a safety net and there is time to mess up, then I think that's only going to set up better for him as a professional. I mean, TC, you saw Ludwig do it, and Ludwig got gradually better every single year in college, and he took his time and he just came out and is a world-class player now. And I think in some ways too, playing the Masters was sort of a turning point for Gordon Sargent, because I remember talking to him at SECs last year, and he seemed to be really have some level of awareness to himself, and was like, that taught me a lot. I had to work on a lot after that. So I think this was the right decision, and I'm curious to see, this is the last year of the COVID years, if you will, that they can use their COVID year. I'm just curious to see, if there are more kids that do get their PGA Tour cards early, sort of like Gordon did, or they accomplish some crazy feat like Nick Dunlap does in winning a PGA Tour event. I'm wondering just how long they stick it out.
Yeah, I think actually going back to your point, Nick Dunlap actually did give him the specific advice of no, it's lonely as hell out here. Stay in school. School's awesome. Soak that up as long as you can. And obviously Dunlap gets into the
don't ever leave.
Yeah.
Stay as long as you can.
Exactly. So
I mean, they are they're very, very close. Grew up playing junior golf together. The other thing too is that I think Nick's upbringing, thrust on the surface, played a lot of these high level amateur events, gets into college, finally is a part of a team and kind of fitting in there and everything else like that. I don't know. I'm not saying anybody has regrets based off decisions here, but it's very interesting to hear that he reached out to Gordon and told him hey man, it's pretty good. You got a little bit of time, because this is going to be here waiting for you, whether it's next year or in 2 more years. You figure it out.
Jordan-
TC, you wanted to go to Ferry Tour, huh? Highlight a little Morgan Hoffman.
Yeah, I just got two call outs there. Morgan Hoffman, currently solo second there on Corn Ferry. I think that's pretty remarkable given his whole, everything he's dealing with on a medical basis and kind of how he's had to reinvent his game. And then Jordan, I wanted to ask you about this 15-year-old that made the cut on Corn Ferry. Have you seen this?
Mr. Miles Russell.
Yes.
Yes.
What can you tell us about Mr. Miles Russell?
Oh gosh, he's just been at the top of the AJGA for a hot minute. I mean, I wasn't surprised because he kind of came out. He was like 4 under through 5 yesterday or something like that. It was wild. Let me pull it up real fast. I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, he's the youngest kid to ever make the cut at a Corn Ferry event.
I wasn't surprised. He also it's also been kind of sitting here toying around a little bit with PGA Tour qualifying just a little bit and trying to test his game on that level. And it's fascinating. I mean, he's just had such a good run. He won the boys PGA last year. That's a huge event to win. Played really good at Sage Valley a few weeks ago. I mean, he's been so dominant respective to his level that I'm not surprised that he's out here really trying to test the waters a little bit of professional golf. And again, he's only 15. I mean,
where he's from too? Jacksonville Beach.
A little local. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's 7-shot victory at the junior PGA last year, and then won the junior players by 3 as well. So pretty heady stuff.
I think sometimes when people are like, oh man, Charlie Woods is going to win 4 or 5 Masters, I'm like, you should see some of the kids out here who are his age group who are just dominating the actual AJGAs and the junior PJs and stuff like that. There's got a lot of kids who are way, way ahead. Now, it doesn't mean that Charlie Woods can't be great someday. Certainly not. Everybody develops at their own pace, but there's a lot of kids out there who are phenoms, who are kind of doing not quite what Tiger did, but kicking ass at a really high level that Charlie hasn't quite shown yet in junior golf.
And just in Florida alone, much less nationally.
Right.
People got mad at me for suggesting that Charlie Woods should try and dominate junior golf before he goes and tries to play against professionals. It was just,
I think people are going to get mad at people for anything Charlie Woods related, whichever side of anything you're saying. It's just going to be this lightning rod, hot button thing.
Yeah, so. I agree. Well, guys, I think that brings us to the end of the agenda, end of this 36-hole check-in live show for 2024 Chevron Championship. We picked winners. Everybody's confident in them?
Yeah.
No takebacks.
All right. Well, we'll see.
I'll say I reserve the right to change it tomorrow on social if Lauren posts a good round tomorrow. I'd like to,
You'd like to pick is Lauren. I think you can get an out card with Lauren, but not you can't go.
No, exactly. It's just an out. It's just an out card with Lauren, but it's setting up. It's setting up to be an awesome weekend. I'm stoked for it.
KVV, quickly, I want to go back to your Nelly piece for a second.
Yeah.
I think Nelly, regardless of what happens this week, she's obviously at the top of this part of the sport and probably will stay there for a while. And yes, there's been some reluctance on her side to kind of be a little bit out there, be the face of it, talk. But I do think she should take some comfort in the fact that the expectations for women's sports now have changed substantially in the year 2024, because it felt like for a long time that there was this narrative or expectation that a female athlete, when she was worthy of attention, she had to be an astronaut. She had to run for office. She also had to, just be this extra dynamic person.
Right. Be pretty, be perfect, never say anything offensive.
Ever. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And male athletes have never really had that burden. Their play has just been able to be solely recognized for what it is. And now Nelly's kind of stepping into this realm where yeah, if she was maybe if she was a little more outgoing and maybe a little bit more willing to take on a few more media commitments. I mean, there's something here that I'm not saying it's going to be the Caitlin Clark effect because granted
Sure.
we cover golf, but it was something that could really resemble it. And I hope this weekend that does shine through.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Very
I
well
agree.
said.
I think the one thing too, and you touch on the Caitlin Clark effect, and this is going to segue into, TC and I. Thank you for everybody who sends such kind messages for us being on ESPN Plus. But I put a tweet out there, like, just super appreciative of the commissioner, of Molly stepping up and being like, you know what, like, we have some funds. We're going to invest in additional streaming options. Like, all people want to do, if we want to elevate our sport and you want to talk or even get close to comparing to this glow up that Caitlin Clark and the women had in, national championship and everything else right there. In order to do that, you have to have broadcast partners who are willing to actually show the shots, to tell the stories,
you can't
to
be
go
a fan if you can't watch.
to go out on a limb. And sometimes that's shaking things up. And this was a good first step of shaking it up. And that just happened to include us. But I think the traditional broadcast partners at, CBS has a single event with them, but specifically NBC and Comcast can do the same thing, because just because you change up a graphics package here and there, it sounds pretty similar. All right. Yeah. And there's a lot of advances that you could do all the way across the board. So excited
also,
to see where they could take it.
It's very, this is like patting a 4-year-old on the head for pooping in the potty, but, them sticking with the coverage today for an extra 15 minutes just so they could finish Nelly's round.
Yeah.
The fact that, good on them for doing that, but the fact that we even have to call out like, oh, good on you for doing it, shows the low bar that we're coming from here,
We'll get there. Things take time, but hopefully the right people are working together and continue to push things and advance it, because at the end of the day, that's all anybody wants to see is this, these world-class athletes, the best women golfers in the world, elevated and hopefully some growth out of that, because that just means better golf courses, larger purses, and more opportunities for them and us as fans. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's exactly what we all want to see. So besides that, guys, we're going to be back here Sunday evening live again. The RBC Heritage Chevron live show presented by High Noon tonight. Thank you again to our LPGA season-long sponsor in YETI. Check them out at YETI.com. Thank you to Titleist and our friends at Vokey Wedges. I got to produce a road show. I'm on my way to San Diego Sunday morning, so we'll see. Hopefully the Wi-Fi at our great partner in Omni holds up to producing a live show from there. But we'll see you guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and cheers.
Crack on.
See ya.